Hi everyone, this is Dango here. In this video, we are going to talk about the Aoe strategy. So Aoe strategy has two different styles. So one style is like a tank push focused Aoe strategy. So basically you do the Aoe with your tank like Landives or Juggler. The other style is actually Aoe rush. So with Aoe rush you have a lot of like high mobility characters like Estel, Sumari, Leonhardt, like Olivier, like Varna, those kind of things, you can directly rush your enemy from turn 1 or turn 2. So in that case, it is more of a rush style than an AoE style. So the strategy we are going to discuss today is going to be a tank push focused AoE strategy. So this strategy steadily is still not very strong in season 3. It's just because the characters are not the level there. So for example, in season 4 and season 5, AoE strategy is going to be stronger because several key characters are going to become very strong. For example, Rennie is going to get her 3 cost scale, and that is going to be a very significant improvement for Rennie. I am the only player who is using Rennie in top 16. And this is not a surprise because Rennie is just not very good before the 3 cost scale. You can still use her when your opponent has a like very short leg box. For example, I was using Rennie against that guy 7 and it works very well. That's just because that guy 7's box is full of short legs with like even Yulia in the box. So that makes Rennie useful. But if you are fighting someone like Method Autorun who is using a more meta single target box, then it is going to be a lot harder to use Rennie at this stage. So this is one of the thing that is going to be improved in Season 4 and Season 5. Rennie is going to have her 3 cost scale in the next patch, so it's really coming soon. And the other thing is that the other faction buffer for the Dark faction is going to come into the game, which is going to be Licorice. So Licorice is a very strong AoE focused character as well. And then if we go to the season 5, we'll have Rian. Rian is like, yeah, Rian is the most toxic character in this game in the Chinese server so far. So a lot of like players just now they just second pick Rian, and it doesn't matter what other characters you win, you can win a battle if you second pick Rian. So it's a very strong character. It's kind of yeah, similar to the Iris in season 4. Yeah, and Iris is also another strong AoE character. Although you can do the single target with Iris still, but Iris can also be very powerful in AoE strategy as well. So this is why, as I said, season 3 AoE strategy isn't really strong. In the top 16 players, some of the players are using kind of a mixed box where they have some sort of the AoE characters like Angelina, like Basil, like Listel, but most of the box is still single target. Yeah, for example, the Auto Run, Method, Roy, the Hazuchio, the Lord, Chertan, that guy 7, Manson, Desu Life, and Seui. Yeah, like all these players, their box are still more focused on the single target side, and their objectives is usually to try to kill the juggler. The only real AoE player in the top 16 is only True God and me when I was playing that guy 7, and the first game when I was playing against the Method, I was also using the AoE strategy. So if we check at, for example, if we check at True God's box, yeah, you can see why I say it is more AoE focused. So for AoE focused team, Juggler is usually the character that you will have trouble to deal with, because unless you can do the heal reverse, you can do the like heal block, then Juggler usually can just heal others, right? So this is really the trouble for AoE team. So if you're running an AoE box like what True God is running, you have to first ban Juggler first. So True God here has a lot of AoE characters, Angelina with the 3 cost scale and also Dragon Breath. is already a top level AoE character. You can like if you use 3 cost skill and Dragon Breath, you can potentially move 2 times with double AoE. So this is a ton of AoE damage. So I mean, you have to be very careful with positioning against Angelina. And there is another character that is Kurama. So Kurama is actually a okay-ish character. The only problem for Kurama is really like his too short leg, yeah. But besides that, Kurama is actually a fairly strong character with the tank push AoE strategy. So it deals a lot of fixed damage when your enemy is approaching you. And Kurama is actually pretty strong. You know, like is quite assassin proof with the skeleton knight that he can bring here. So the box here, all of the characters except the Yusuke and the Luna, they can do and also Zareda, they can do the AoE attack. Night of Mystery has double AoE, and Listiel has Listiel also has the AoE, Basil AoE, and Ritual 3 cost and the Magic Bomb AoE. Yeah, the Angelina is AoE character, the Kurama is also AoE character. So this is why he has to ban the Juggler first here. And then picking Juggler would be very good for True God. So you can see for the AoE character, just like me, when I was playing the Method and when I was playing that guy 7, Basil is a very great character for the AoE players to pick. So I'm going to explain why, like when you are trying to do the AoE strategy, I mean the first thing you need to pick is going to be Juggler. The other thing you want to pick is the character that can do AoE, that can also debuff, like do a lot of debuff to the enemy. So Basil is a perfect spot here, and then you will pick the AoE damage dealer that can deal a lot of damage, so the enemy's healers cannot keep up. So in this case, after picking Basil, he picks the Kurama here. I think Angelina here works pretty well as well. The problem for Angelina here is there is no faction buff, although there is also no faction buff for the Kurama. And here we also have Night of Mystery. So this Night of Mystery, if I'm playing here, I would probably bring the 2 AoE scale in this case. Yeah, just because like in this case you can do the max AoE pressure on your enemy. And yeah, and exactly this Night of Mystery is using Forget and Thunder Zone. Night of Mystery is actually underestimated character like for AoE team. She is actually super strong AoE character. Those double AoEs, they have like fairly high cooldown, like this is a 5-turn cooldown, this is 3-turn cooldown. But with the backtrack and with the talent, this cooldown can significantly reduced. So this is why Night of Mystery is actually a very strong AoE characters. We are surprised like Night of Mystery can do a lot of single target damage. If your juggler is like not well built, you can potentially get one shot by Night of Mystery. So this is like something we already seen, like Royalist Night of Mystery just one shot the Lordly Gods like juggler. Yeah, so that's a very strong single target unit like for sure. But also Night of Mystery with the Thunder Zone, which is a huge range AoE, and another AoE that can actually blocks the passive of the character, is actually very strong. And usually when you are like fighting, you are doing the AoE team, you are fighting with land use, right? Land use passive block can actually block the passive that allow land use to revive. So unless like the healers remove this passive block, if you use the like Forget, and then if you have other AoE that kills the land use, yeah, land use will not going to be able to revive. So that's actually a very strong character against the land use team. So okay, yeah. So my recommendations on AoE box is that so if you look at the team formation, yeah, the box that I'm currently using is kind of a very AoE heavily focused box. The reason that I'm still putting Detroit here in the box is just because D-Trade is such a very strong supportive unit. You have the speed +1 passive skill, you have the Gospel, you also have the Cyst of Miracle, which actually reduce the cooldown, which is actually very essential for the AoE team. The other unit you can use, like the other supportive units you can use is actually Sophia. So some players in the AoE team, maybe they would prefer to kick out the Ares and then aiding the Sophia, cause Sophia Revenge is actually very strong. Ares is better for AoE rush, yeah, like not really a tank push focused AoE team. Yeah, those AoE characters, they already have decent range. Like when you're doing a tank push, you have enough chance to actually hit your enemy. So hit your opponent. Especially if you're using like Bracer Bazo, Bracer Listel, you don't really care about of being initiated by your opponent. So the Ares here is not making that many sense. Instead, Sophia here could be a very strong option for you. And also, when you are using the AoE box, I don't really recommend you to put a lot of assassins in the box. So assassins works pretty well with a single target strategy, but it is not really working well with the AoE strategy. So the key thing for AoE strategy is that you are doing this range attack, this range AoE attack, so you can damage different characters of your opponent simultaneously, so you can keep a high pressure on the healings of your opponent. So assassins usually is a trade 1-for-1 trade. Usually AoE team you want to deal this range effect, you want to deal a lot of damage to multi characters at the same time. So assassins, 1-1 trade usually will only make you have less advantage against your opponent. So yeah, this kind of 1-1 trade is a bad for AoE team compared to a single target team. So this is why I'm not recommending like Omega or Hihei in any of the AoE focused box. But yeah, Xiaofonio is actually very strong as well. AoE characters, so you either need to deal enough debuff so that your enemy will have like trouble to dispel, or you need to deal like very huge amount of damage like Ritual, or you can deal the AoE damage at a reliable, like consistently. So in this case, Night of Mystery and Xiaofonio can all do that. The other character that can do a consistent AoE damage is going to be Lamenta. Lamenta's special gear allows her to have a fairly good chance to, to reduce the cooldown of the AoE by 5. So that's very nice. You can spam those AoE. If the special gear is triggered. But the thing is for Lamenta is that it is still not super consistent. Even if you hit like 5 enemy, 5 opponents, the chance to reset the cooldown is only 50% chance. So that's not that reliable. So compared to like Xiaofonio, I'm more likely to use Xiaofonio than Lamenta. The other reason is also Xiaofonio can call the faction buff for herself, whereas Lamenta can also receive the faction buff from Gizlov, from the Landleaves, and from Sigma right now. So that's a huge limitation there as well. The Chloride is actually one of the characters that you also want to put in the AoE box. So the first reason is because Chloride has the another like small AoE skill as well. So it's basically the same AoE skill with Sherry and Ares. So is the here is the Wind Whisper. So this is not a strong AoE skill, but it actually works pretty well with Red the Wind. So this 20%, this 25% increase in damage dealt can actually affect this Wind Whisper as well. So and another reason that you can use Chloride in an AoE box is this. So when you are fighting with your opponent, you are using AoE strategy. So if your opponent is smart enough, they know how to counter it. So for example, the best way to counter AoE strategy is to spread out your characters, so they are not stacked with their tank. They can just make sure your AoE cannot hit all of them. If your AoE can only hit 2 or 3 of them, then there is a good chance that your opponent can react and come back after you spam all your AoEs. So one of the thing Chloride can do is to make sure that your opponent will not spread out. Uh, because you have the Chloride, this is a like high mobility character. Your opponent actually needs to stick everyone within the tank range. So this is actually a very good thing for AoE strategy, because then you have the AoE characters to spam at the AoE, and then you also have the character to force your opponent to stack together around their tank. So it is going to be better for you to spam the AoE. So that's why you can still run characters like Chloride in your box. And when Iris is coming, that is going to make the AoE strategy a lot stronger, just because Iris is another character that can force your opponent to stick everyone within their tank's range. And then it provides a good chance for your juggler to jump in, for your Basil to cast a black hole, for your Listel to cast a Manbor. Yeah, that's why it is very good. So Joshua is one of the AoE characters as well. I'm not a big fan of Joshua still. It's just because the cooldown of the AoE is too strong, and you don't really bring enough debuff from Joshua. You cannot really one-shot anyone with Joshua's AoE, and yeah, it's just it's not. For example, if you compare Joshua with Xiaofonio is just a much better choice. Although they can all like cast a faction buff, Xiaofonio's AoE you can cast every turn. Joshua's AoE you just don't really have follow up unless you're using Cloud enchant, but then even that's only a 30% chance to do that. So the AoE damage is not high enough, it's not very consistent. So I'm not a big fan of Joshua in the AoE box. But yeah, Xiaofonio is very strong. You can also use the Sakura. If you have a good Sakura, the heal reverse and the heal block after the Sakura's 3 cost skill is going to be a very strong option. The other strong option is actually Reinforce. So Reinforce is going to have one of the strongest AoE scale for the 3 cost skill. Yeah, so Reinforce with the 3 cost skill is going to be very annoying in the AoE box. And then you can still do the Leonhardt. Leonhardt, if you have a good Leonhardt, if you run if you run Leon in your box, Leon actually works pretty well with AoE box as well. If you have like the more faction buffers for Leonhardt, it is not a terrible idea to put Leonhardt in the box as well. So that's pretty much about it. So when you are doing the AoE strategy, yeah, you have to also make sure that your tank will not be killed by your opponent. So, for example, if you are fighting with like some player using a single target strategy, and they still try to kill your juggler, right? And yeah, and usually this kind of single target box, they will have a lot of methods to kill your juggler. For example, here from methods box, the Night of Mystery can kill my juggler, the Chloride can kill my juggler, the Yusuke can have like high threat on my juggler if I don't have Gospel, the Hihei can kill my juggler if I don't have Gospel, and the Ritual can potentially kill my juggler as well. So yeah, so here a lot of things you can do to prevent your juggler being killed. For example, here I'm using my Listel using the Demonic Guard. So that's actually a very strong strategy against this kind of like Night of Mystery and Ritual. Yeah, a good Listel with Lacerite will not be killed by Night of Mystery. And yeah, and you actually guard your juggler, so your juggler can just if you have Listel around, your juggler can just call a faction buff and jump in without worrying about being killed. And then Luna is the other key characters. So although you're running the AoE box, Luna you can still have it in your box just to prevent your juggler from being killed by like Nettle Mystery, Detroit, Yulia, or like Ritual. So that's just something you need to do to think about how to survive the magical attack here. Yeah, usually this tail is one of the solutions. To survive the physical attack, you can try to use like then you have to focus on your troop training. For example, to survive Chloride is not really hard if you max your training on Lobster or if you max your training on Lancer. The Yellowstone is also strong against those physical damage dealers as well. And then some of the characters can help your tank to survive as well. So I'm just going to talk about a few strategy to help your juggler survive, because juggler survive is indeed very important for AoE strategy players. So for example, you can use Iris Teleport to reduce the damage received from your juggler. But then this is a 5-turn cooldown scale. So yeah, if you use that, it is only good for like 2 turns or 3 turns if you are using juggler plushie. But then after that, it is still going to be a struggle. Angelina is a very strong AoE character as we discussed. It can also help you tank survive well. So this defense support can decrease the damage taken by 2 friendly units within 2 blocks by 15%. Yeah, this is actually a very strong scale. This is a passive scale. It is a 2-cost passive scale. If you use that, maybe you will not be able to really double AoE for your Angelina, but at least you can save your juggler from getting killed. 15% damage reduction is a lot. And then yeah, to prevent the like being killed from Yusuke, you need something to prevent the heal block. Shield is one of the skill that can prevent the heal block, right? So this is some skill that Nettle Mystery can do. And even Whaler can help your tank survive a lot better. So there is also a defense support here. I believe this is the same scale compared to the Angelinas. Yeah, this is like 50% damage reduction. And then Luna can not only help you survive the magical attack, it can also help you survive the physical attack. This defense command just directly increase 10% of defense. This is actually a very huge amount of increase. Usually with that, you can survive Chloride areas easily. And yeah, that's pretty. And then against the Chloride, definitely T-Areas. If you still want to use the healer, it is still an option. But if you are using an AoE box, the help that T-Areas can give you is really limited. So I don't really recommend you to run T-Areas in your box. Rather, I would recommend you to run Sophia. So Sophia can bring you 10% more extra defense as well. So that can help you survive either Chloride or Iris easier as well. So yeah, those are just the things you need to consider when you are using AoE box. You need to ban Juggler first. So you need to ban Juggler first during the pick and ban. You need to, if you get the Juggler yourself, you need to think about how to make Juggler survive before you actually engage in. And then during the pick and ban, you probably want to prioritizing on picking the characters that can allow you to do, you know, range, like a higher range AoE with a lot of debuff. In this case, after the running 3-cost scale, this is going to be a higher threat than even Basil. So Rini and Basil are very strong, like debuff characters for you. And then this tail can do the heal reverse and heal block. Sakura can do the heal reverse and heal block as well. Symphonio can cast the AoE basically every turn. Angelina and Leonhard can cast a double AoE in one turn. so that's a lot of damage. Chloride can let your enemy or opponent stack together, and she also have a small AoE to be used, so that's pretty good as well. And then Lamata with the special gear, you can potentially spam the AoE over and over again. Ritual can deal a huge amount of like AoE damage. Her 3-cost skill works very well with Basil and Rini, because her 3-cost skill also count as the debuff. So if you use the Ritual and then you use Basil and Rini, then it makes it really hard for your opponent to dispel those debuffs. And then after the like 3-cost is released, the Reinforce is going to be very strong as well. The new characters, Ares, Vicolis, are both very strong for AoE strategy. So although we can see that in Season 3, AoE strategy is not that strong, at least in Season 4 and Season 5, I think we will see more AoE players in the future. Okay, so this is all about this video. Oh, actually, so like I talked about, like when you are like picking those characters, who should you prioritize in pick? And like during the pick and ban, you also need to be very careful what you want to ban from your opponent. So a lot of the AoE characters, they are actually very, very tanky. For example, Basil, Rini are very tanky just because the troop they can use are very tanky. So if you are using Basil and Rini in this game, if they are not banned early and you're picking them, then you kind of can ignore some of the assassins, especially if the map has some like forest, has some like walls, then it makes like Zareda and Hihei very, very hard to kill Basil and Rini. So you don't have to ban the assassins early. What you really want to ban instead is the healers that can dispel, and the healers that can just heal over and over again. So Valor and Liana, usually these two healers, you need to ban them if you are trying to play the AoE strategy. So that's all I want to talk with the AoE strategy, and yeah, I will see you guys later. You can leave the comments if you have any questions about the strategy. Yeah, so see you guys later. Peace.